This is the strangest heating system you will ever see, I guarantee that. Usually you would say, if this rad isn't working, the pin's stuck in the rad, or the lock shields are off, or there's an issue with it. We've checked everything there. Let me show you how this radiator is controlled. This is where I'd like to see, pulling this up, a board or something that's been screwed down, some sort of access panel. You're a betting man, John. Would you say it's under here?
Yes.
I think I would. I'd have a fiver on it.
Yeah, I would.
There's always one that you don't see. Right then.
There we go.
I reckon it's 2 to 1 on. There we go. There we go. This is the strangest heating system you will ever see, I guarantee that. I've worked on this house a few times, and what we've got to do today, I don't know if we're going to be able to find the problem, because it is such a random way of working radiators that I'd never ever seen it before until I came to this job about 2 or 3 years ago and spent a good amount of time working out what was going on. Let me show you. This radiator is not working. It hasn't worked for 12 months or so. It's got a thermostatic valve on the end. Usually you would say, if this rad isn't working, the pin's stuck in the rad, or the lock shields are off, or there's an issue with it. We've checked everything there. Now, let me show you how this radiator is controlled. There's a room stat on the wall. This stat is very similar to what you'd have with underfloor heating. Now, they've got underfloor heating downstairs, whereas upstairs, that radiator over there in the corner is controlled by this touch panel here. It's got a thermostatic valve on it, but also in the cupboard, let's say that radiator's here, in the cupboard behind it is an actuator similar to what you have on underfloor heating. So when you turn this stat up, that actuator opens and then allows the radiator to work. That is the problem we've got with this. There's an actuator that's stuck that controls this radiator, not the thermostat, under the floor somewhere. I came up tail end of last year hoping it was underneath there, because you had a little bit of exposed carpet, you would assume it was under there. We had that out, looked under there, nothing. So what I've got to do today is try and find this actuator valve in this room. I've got my thermal imaging camera here. I can't even run the heating up and trace the pipe work because there's no flow through that rad, and there's no flow past the valve that is stuck shut. You're following me? Told you it's baffling. So what we're going to do is peel this carpet back. Hopefully, in an ideal world, I want to see a little cutout in the floor with a valve underneath it. If it is, great. If it isn't, we're going to have to start getting this floor up. So yeah, drop in the comments if you've ever seen a system like this, because it baffled the hell out of me for so long. Downstairs is full underfloor heating, controlled with these stats on a normal manifold. Upstairs, these stats are controlling the rads. One in here, one in that room there, and one in here. Again, this one's got a thermostat on. We don't know where the valve is. You turn the touch panel up, that rad comes on. Told you it's a strange one. I'm Mark, this is Real World Plumbing. Give it a like. Get subscribed to the channel, because we've got to try and work out where this valve is. So then what I'm going to do first is peel this carpet back from this corner, see if we can get it back. Hopefully there's a panel under here, hopefully. If not, move this computer desk over to here. The customer left that because they want to try and leave that plugged in, and then get the carpet back as far as we can and try and find this valve. My idea is, if we can't find anything obvious, is take the rad off, fire the heating system up, connect a hose to the side that we know isn't controlled with this ghost valve, and then try and pull some hot water through to see if we can then use a thermal imaging and track through the floor and see if we can find it. I've also got my little endoscope camera as well, that if need be we can poke under the floor to see if we can find something where the pipe work goes. I'd like to think them pipes drop down into the floor there, but let's get the carpet up and see where we're at. This is where I'd like to see pulling this up, a board or something that's been screwed down, some sort of access panel, but I don't know. Here we go. So we've got, I can't work out what that is. Can't work out what he's trying to say, but it's a little dotted line going that way, so I would say the pipes are going that way. So we just got the carpet up here. I exposed this corner first, hoping there may be something down here. However, I'm being a bit careful because the customer's this side and they don't want to be on camera, which is fine. So I've just rolled the carpet back here. So Rad's here. I thought possibly it might be something here. Rolled the carpet back here. Now we've got, when we originally came out, there was a cut off in the carpet just there. So we had this up and there was nothing under it. Now at the time, I saw this plyboard and assumed the whole room was done in that plyboard. And you know as well as I, when you need to expose something in ply, it's carpet up and the whole room, and it's just an absolute nightmare. So when I pulled the carpet back and realised we've got boards here, bonus. Now I've just pulled this side up and we've got this. Now I'm going to touch wood, I'm going to get this board up here and I'm hoping to see the actuator valve that is controlling this rad. So let's get it up and have a look. If you're a betting man, John, would you say it's under here?
Yes.
I think I would. I'd have a fiver on it.
Yeah, I would. I'd bet on it. For the very reason it's different.
It's like you look at something and you go, why is that like that?
Yeah.
There's a reason for it, isn't there?
Absolutely.
So if it's not,
why has he done this bit?
well, yeah, I don't know, down the side to the hip. So,
yeah.
I think we took that up, didn't we?
Yes.
Hopefully it's under here. If not, it could be under. It could be under there.
It could be because the bath is next door to that.
Yeah, we could have took it there.
So
We shall see.
they moved the bath.
We're all intrigued. Let's just take that carpet trimmer off. Screw. There's always one that you don't see. There we go. Right then.
Here we go.
I reckon it's 2 to 1 on. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Got it. There we go. So.
Oh, it's right there.
It is literally an underfloor heating actuator valve. Now, I'd never seen this. The customers moved into this house. How long have you been here?
3 years.
3 years ago. And when they came here, they got hold of me, came out, and there was issues with the underfloor heating that we went through. We redone all of that. Then I've taught you how to use the stats. But what's strange with this property is they've got underfloor heating downstairs and then the underfloor heating style stats on the wall, which sort of confused me when we first came, because if you look at this rad as a standalone rad, thermostatic valve on the side, that's what controls it. And I remember when we was working it, we turned the heating on and none of the rads were getting warm, but downstairs was. And anyways, it was probably half a day, 3/4 of a day I spent getting my head around this system. And the customers, just before I started this job today, they went, you know this system, Mark, you know how it works, because I spent that much time getting my head around it. And this is when we found out that these rads are running on actuator valves. So you've got that there, which is turning the rad on and off through the stat on the wall, and then it's coming through a thermostatic valve. I've never seen it before. Drop in the comments, let me know if you've ever seen anything like this. So, back to the job in hand. This isn't opening up to allow this rad to get warm. So, what I think we're going to do is just take this off completely and have the rad working like an old school rad. If you turn the heating on and you want this rad off, you turn the stat down. You want it on, you turn it up. The customer's computer's here, he works here, so this rad's right next to him. So if we do it that way, what I'll do is disconnect it, turn the heating on, check that this idea we've got will work. But as I always say, plumbing is problem solving, and I think, touch wood, we've solved it. So we've got the heating on now. There's nothing coming through the rad, nothing coming through the pipes. I've got my thermal imaging camera here. These pipes are completely cold. This is getting warm. Now the good thing with this is, I'd like it to be that this is the issue. I think it is, because this isn't popping up and I can just replace it. However, the fact that it's not connected onto here anymore, this is moving. I just like this rad to be getting warm, but it's not. So what I think, because it's been shut off for so long, no water's working its way around. Water has some sort of a memory, if you know what I mean. Sometimes when you're the last rad on a system, you can crack it and it'll pull that through and the air will shift around and it'll work. So I'm hoping that's the problem. So got my bucket, pop it under the valve here. We're going to turn this one off like so and see if we can just pull a bit of water through here and hopefully drag some heat through. As soon as I know that this valve isn't the issue, then I think what I'm going to do is try and get a new head, connect it on, because the customer said ideally it'd be great if he could keep that. So let's get our bucket under here and drag some water out if we can. No, it's not coming through. That's just the water coming out the back of the rad, just venting out the rad a little bit. I think it's this valve. Right then, I've taken off the thermostatic valve from the end of this rad. So this is fine, but if I blow down it, it will stay open and you can blow down it, and then if I press that on the top, it will close. So we know that thermostatic valve is fine off the end of the rad. Now, this is completely open and there's nothing coming through this valve. So I'm going to say this is playing up as well as this, because the stat's been calling and this head hasn't popped up. What I think I'm going to do is pop off, see if I can get an inline thermostatic valve, cut this one out, put an inline thermostatic valve here, basically replicating that but further down here, so that we can, if need be, reconnect that and the customer can then carry on using it as it is. And then at the moment we can put that in, leave that open, put the TRV back on there, and then this rad will get warm. Are you following my thinking? Let's shoot off, get an inline valve, drain the heating system, get that one cut out and get a new one put back in here. I might even be able to get it there actually. We'll see. So I thought before we shoot off to the merchant to see if we can get a valve for there, I might as well cut out the original one and take it with me just in case there's any difference in the little adapter plate that screws on from the original valves onto the new TRV valve that we're hopefully going to get. It's always handy to take something with you in case you need to match it up. A little top tip for you. Right, we've got this valve, or the valve that was there underneath the floor, and if I blow down it, I can't. So that is also the problem. This is stuck shut, and I also think, to be completely honest, that this is not working, because that head, when we turned it on, that head wouldn't come up. So what I'm going to do, as I think I've already said, is go and get an inline thermostatic valve that we can then put this connector plate on and then we'll get a new head and it'll work. But what we can do is while we're waiting for one of those heads to come, we can reconnect that inline thermostatic valve there, and we can leave it open so that it will be absolutely fine and allow the valve on the end of the rad, the TRV on the end of the rad, to work. You got me? You got me. Right, let's go and pick up a valve. Just been to Plumbase and picked up some bits to see if we can get this up and running to a degree. So, this is the plan. We are going to refit the TRV valve onto the end of the radiator. This is the valve that we know now is not working, along with the actuator head. I'll get onto that in a minute. So what we're going to do, take that out. I've picked up an inline thermostatic head, so we're going to fit that inline here. I'll probably pop it on there, and then what we can do with that is put the converter plate onto that, and then the heat miser actuator will sit on that and control that valve, basically doing the same as what the other one did. That valve up to this rad. However, this is the issue. This is the main problem that we've got with this job. This heat miser actuator, if I just unplug it, this heat miser actuator head is not working. When we turn the stat up on the wall, this doesn't pop out and this gets red hot. So I don't think this is working either. I can't get hold of one of these. I don't seem to be able to find them. I've just done a post on Instagram tagging Heat Miser to see if they've got any of the old stock. The reason being is we can switch the head out there. The new ones come with it hardwired, the head hardwired, and this cable goes under the floor and I assume off up to that stat. So if I can just unclip that head and put a new one on, perfect. Also, the other way around it was thought of cutting the cable and connecting a new head onto that cable, but I don't know if there's an issue with that. That may be the very, very last resort, but at least by putting that in, and we know we can leave it open, and this rad is then going to work. The only thing is, it's going to work when any other rad, because they're all on this actuator system, any other rad calls for heat, it's going to heat this up unless they turn it off there. If we explain that to the customer, they're fine with it. So first of all, let's get this TRV inline fitted, get this back on and get the heating system filled back up, and we can test that this rad is working. Then we can work out what we're going to do with the heat miser actuator head. So we start with getting some PTFE tape wrapped around that male iron to copper that we're going to work into that fitting on the left hand side where the original valve that was playing up was situated. So we'll get that put into there, and then obviously we've got to fit in that TRV valve that we've bought. Now measure it up, make sure you cut it. The thing with this is we've got to allow probably 1/4 of an inch for it to turn into that female iron to copper fitting on the left hand side. So I've just got to make sure I've got that exactly right. As always, get some paste on there. Whenever I use a compression fitting, I'll always put a little bit of paste on there. It's just a little bit of insurance. An old boy told me back in the day when I was doing my apprenticeship, it's a little bit of insurance, kid. Get that on there and it won't have a compression joint weep or leak. And touch wood, I haven't. Well, I have. I've had a couple, but you just give them a little bit of a nip up. So we'll get all that put into position, get it connected up. This is a perfect time. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Give this one a thumbs up. I know that there is going to be a few people coming in the comments about compression fittings under floors. Now, I know so many people are going to be in the comments saying you can't do that. I've done it so many times. You've done it so many times. You know you have. It's not a problem with it as long as you make sure it's nice, tight and not leaking. Compression fittings under the floor. It's not a problem having that. It's tight. That's what we've had to get onto from the old valve. So I didn't want to cut it back here and not have enough room to get anything on. So male iron to copper onto there. Inline TRV there with that adapter plate. We'll just pop that on it for the moment so we know that it's there. But that is in the open position. So now when we feel the heating up, we'll get to this point where the TRV is there. I'll pop that back on and get it tightened up in a minute. And then we can control it with the actuator head off the TRV valve. And then hopefully we can have a result with that heat miser actuator head. So let's get this reconnected, get it filled up, get it tested, and see if it works. It should do. So repressurise the boiler, getting the air out the system, and then with the thermal imaging, you can see the bottom of this rad beginning to get warm finally. So the heat is coming through that pipe with that valve completely open. Exactly what we want. We just got to then sort out what's going on here. But what we can do is reconnect that, turn the stat on that wall, and it will get heat into this radiator. You'll just have no control over it at that point, and with that stat, it'll all have to be done on that. It's so confusing. You can understand now why it took me, give or take, a whole day to get my head around this system, because the first time I came in, I knew nothing about these stats, these actuators under the floors, and I was like, why are these rads not getting hot? What's that on the wall? Made no sense. But I can feel the heat now coming through into this rad. So we'll finish, get these vented, make sure the pressure's topped back up, a couple of other rads to vent out, and then I think we're just about done with this one for the moment till we get that replacement actuator head. So if you've enjoyed this and it's baffled you a little bit as much as it baffled me to begin with, give it a thumbs up, get subscribed to the channel, drop a comment, let me know what you think about actuators under the floors. It's not for me, I don't think.